We are the President's Council of Cornell Women, and it's part of our mission to support the women of Cornell. Philanthropy is one of our pillars, the other two being mentoring and connection to Cornell. And so one of the things that we value in PCCW is the ability to make an impact on women, faculty, and students of Cornell. One way we do that is through the Affinito-Stewart grant program, the leadership grants, and our newest initiative is the micro grant program for students. There was an acknowledgement early in the history of PCCW that women faculty, sometimes for various reasons, struggle to get the grant funding early enough in their career. So PCCW took it upon itself to provide that funding. We're able to sort of give them that extra boost to get their research completed. And in some cases, it's all they need in order to do the research to get their full tenure.
The work that I do brings together acting, directing, devising, and translation.
I'm interested in what's called material culture studies, so how people relate to things and objects in the material world around them.
Because I am a filmmaker, I can make movies about anything. At the moment, my big project is Bearing Witness, which happens to be about social justice, policing in America, and race.
I'm really interested in how organisms respond to stress, both in terms of how stress changes the biology of individuals that experience it, and why we see that some individuals are much more susceptible to stress than others.
I'm an assistant professor in the physics department, and I study teaching and learning of physics, so physics education research.
My research is about studying patterns of genetic variation in wild fish populations.
This grant allowed me to study the molecular and cellular mechanism of frontotemporal lobar degeneration, which is a devastating neurodegenerative disease.
I've been able to expand my research on public space. Specifically, I've been looking at former international exposition sites.
Right now, I am in the middle of production. We spent the summer driving around the country and filming different places where people were killed by police officers. We ended up in Ohio, and we filmed where Tamir Rice was shot. We also filmed where Terrence Crutcher died in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We filmed a few experts at UCLA who spoke about how we witness as a nation. I want to talk about how that changed because of social media and because everyone has a phone readily available to them that has a camera.
I'm interested in any kind of theater that pushes the boundary of our political conversation. I do a lot of translation, primarily from Arabic into English. I have directed several new Egyptian plays, and this, again, was not only a way for us to understand the internal dialogue of the uprising in Egypt, but it was also a way for us to consider issues like police brutality, the status of women, freedom of expression, religion and government. Themes that come up again and again in religion and government are also themes that are incredibly important to US society as well.
With the current grant, we're focusing on two novel mechanisms. One is the gut microbiome, and the other is epigenetic state. I use tree swallows as a model system because I'm really interested in how animals kind of living in natural habitats respond to the stressors that they face.
What I'm hoping to do with this project that I've received funding for is to look back in time and try to reconstruct what cod populations used to look like in the past, way before commercial fishing intensified. Through collaboration with some archaeologists, we have some of the bones from these processing sites that are between 200 and 400 years old. So the idea is now to try to see if we can extract DNA. This opportunity to optimize a methodology and explore the quality of these particular samples we have, it's extremely valuable.
Unfortunately, a lot of genes, how they function to protect the nervous system is still unknown. So I'm really, really interested to dig into the cellular and molecular mechanism of neurodegeneration, and hopefully, one day we can find a way to correct these mutations so we can, prevent the neurons from dying.
I was able to visit San Antonio, where I documented a site. I visited archival institutions, conducted interviews, and I was able to do that again in Australia in 3 different cities. I've learned a lot about the power of residents in coming together to really save the places that they love. These are really rich areas of collective memory, so it's really a fascinating story.
I used it to fund a specialist site project of my archaeological fieldwork project in Italy, in Tuscany. The type of pottery that I wrote my dissertation on, actually my first book, and it's Terra Sigillata pottery. I always say it's the Coca-Cola of the Roman world. It was literally everywhere, and it's long been seen as a sort of marker of the advent of Roman culture across the empire. So it's been imbued with a lot of symbolic meaning. It didn't have much cultural value attached to it, but it was so pervasive precisely because it didn't. The wider historical implications pertain to debates on the Roman economy, and that's always been a field that's really been dominated by male-centered perspectives, macroeconomic models, top-down models, and these more fine-grained adaptive strategies and people more sort of at the margins, less visible, haven't really been seen as active agents in those models. So I do think that a diversity of perspectives can really contribute to reinvigorating and stimulating the debate.
The PCCW grant allowed us to study our introductory physics labs. In particular, what we're looking at is whether there are differences in who does what in the lab. Do students take on different roles, and does this depend on things like gender? Previous work has shown that the female students are more hesitant to get their hands on equipment or get their hands on the computer, and on average they found that the male students more often would be working on the computer analyzing data. So far we haven't actually found that same result, and things look pretty equitable, which is exciting. So we're digging in a little bit more to try to see if there are other layers, and we're also going to be collecting more data this semester to bring our statistics up and make sure that we're not just missing signal because of noise.
I wanted to make sure that I worked with other women filmmakers in this project. Our cinematographer is also a woman. We traveled together through the summer, and we met other women who were talking about different issues pertaining to police brutality. The support you get from other women filmmakers is absolutely important, where you can vibe on the struggle that it is filmmaking, but the struggle that is filmmaking as a woman is also a different narrative.
You're giving me a chance to deepen my research and bring a wonderful artist to Cornell's campus, Dalia Taha. She is a Palestinian poet and playwright, particularly in a time when bringing international artists into the US is becoming increasingly difficult. It's crucial that we have the funding and the resources to continue this kind of international work.
The PCCW grant has enabled me to expand my work in new directions in my lab that we're really excited to begin pursuing. Thank you.
I truly appreciate all the support from PCCW for the recognition, just for supporting women in science.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to work with a team of women to study gender issues in physics. It's been a rare and wonderful opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
PCCW, thank you so much for your support.